back then, like, influencer marketing wasn't really a big thing, but we were just taking well-known people, putting them in t-shirts and then interviewing them about their journey in life.
Hey guys, it's Matt Haycox here, and we're here for another lockdown podcast special. You'll have to excuse the hat. The hair has really gotten out of control over the last 24 hours, and I'm made to look even worse today with today's guest, because I've got with me Samanah Duran. She's a British entrepreneur, media personality, and has a fierce emphasis on inspiring each individual to embrace their identity and to take pride in their individuality. She's going to tell us a lot more about herself, but having originally established an indulgent streetwear brand called Critics Clothing, she now has a business called Be Your Own, which is a membership club for female entrepreneurs who are looking to reach and connect amongst like-minded, ambitious communities of women. And she's going to talk to us all about marketing, branding, how her tribe of people are coping with Corona and lockdown and surviving and thriving and everything else. So, Samanah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
So obviously, I gave a little bit of an introduction to you, but do you want to flesh it out? Tell us, I guess, a bit more about what you do now, but I guess also how it began and what formed you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not sure how much research you've done, but I had the clothing company, Critics Clothing, and I launched that when I was 22. And it was, it's been a really great platform, and I've been able to leverage that to where I am now. Originally, I didn't really want to, have a streetwear label. I actually wanted to be a TV presenter when I first moved to London. And it was just, I wanted to build something with substance, something that I could, build and then return back to TV at a later stage. And I kind of, I didn't really think that it would get that far. I thought it would be, not really just a hobby, just a business. And I managed to get, a private equity investor behind it and back the brand. And in 2014, we kind of took it to the next level. We had PR companies, we, was having a distribution company, fulfillment companies. And then we started off with a very intimate, clientele base, just in the UK alone, to then shipping globally, having clients over in the US, Canada, Dubai and all the Middle East. They was, it's really popular over there, and especially Russia as well. And I thought, this is really great, but where can I go with it? I wanted to continue to rise to the top with it and maybe get it listed for, on the stock market. But then things obviously took, I wouldn't say it turned for the worse, but I think my kind of passion and drive for the brand kind of shifted focus. And like with any entrepreneur and, an investor, when they team together, I think the most important thing is it's not about the financial backing, it's that the vision is, is very much the same and aligned. I think we kind of grew apart in terms of what we both wanted and what we envisioned for the brand. And at that same time that I was actually building that brand, behind the scenes, I was doing this, platform, not specifically female centric, but it was just taking, people in different industries, such as, the creative industry, music industry, media industry, and just interviewing them and just giving them a platform to talk about what they did and, their startup journey and their journey as a whole, really. And I had a lot.
Was this a podcast or a YouTube channel? How were you actually doing it? How were you delivering it?
Oh, it was literally just, interviewing, written on a blog on the Critics Clothing. Okay. Yeah, so this was way back before any of this kind of podcasting had all taken off, and this YouTube. I mean, it was popular back then, but I didn't really have the money to invest in.
You see, I wish I was around back in the more written blogging days. And then headwear wouldn't have been such a critical issue in recording.
Yeah, well, I mean, what is it, Von Dutch? Yes. Yeah. It's all right. It'll do that.
It needs to be branded. I've got to get someone to sort me out a Matt Haycox range.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect branding.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk more about that in a minute.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I do like to talk about branding. I kind of go off tangent quite a lot, but yeah. I mean, like I said, I was taking people that I knew, I was quite well connected within, all the industries, and I was just taking them and interviewing them, and it was a bit of a catch-22 situation, because they'd have to be wearing my brand, which was Critics Clothing, and at the same time we was putting press releases out and getting them in the press with their interview. We had people like David Airwood, Vaz Blackwood. I think at one point we had sneak boat. We had just a lot of like grime artists and people who were
I'm too old and not cool enough to know any of these people.
streetwear brand. It was kind of like trying to connect the right people to the brand and give it that right DNA and that ethos. So we stayed, well within like the grime and the, creative industry. But yeah, I mean, it really flourished and it really grew from there. And we started building a really great platform with Be Your Own behind the scenes. It wasn't actually really Be Your Own. It was just a place for people to go and just feel connected and inspired and motivated by people just going out there, doing their own thing and being their own person, I guess. And as time really went on, I think it got to about 2016, we actually launched it as a platform itself, but it started as a non-profit for the first 18 months. And we was moving from, interviewing people within the media industry to, cryptocurrency, which wasn't really around then, but, real estate, STEM especially. And the platform just continued to grow. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to sit down with the business development team and see where we can really grow and scale this as an actual profitable, media company, because, like any business, you can't, you still got overheads to pay. We still had like content team, we still had, staffing, like interns and stuff and apprenticeships as it was. But we sat down with the business development team. So where can we take it? And we just kind of restructured it and put like a business plan and forecast together as you do. And we just started like selling media packages, and that's how it really evolved from.
But it was completely by accident, really. Then, insofar as this started out with you putting out content, for something that interested you, something that you believed in. Obviously, served a purpose for the other brand, but it was really just, I guess, following a passion that ultimately led to something that you could monetize.
Absolutely. I mean, back then, like influencer marketing wasn't really a big thing, but we were just taking well-known people, putting them in T-shirts, and then interviewing them about their journey in life. They didn't necessarily, like I said, had to be business people, but it was just interesting to watch them and know their journey, because more often than not, if you're taking underground like street grime artists or indie artists and singers, they don't really get that chance to share their journey that much, because people are focused more heavily on the over commercialized artists. So it was just really nice.
And just going back to your past, just for one quick question before we kind of build on into the future. Obviously, you said you'd originally wanted to be a TV presenter. Why did you kind of finally decide not to do that? And is it something that you kind of missed or regret, or are you kind of happy with the direction your journey's taken?
100%, I'd have to say I'm very happy with the direction that my journey has taken. I mean, I think it's been very unorthodox, that's for sure. And a lot of people have, often said to me, why are you not in front of the camera? And it's like, well, actually, I do like it, but I prefer like directing things and seeing things to, come to life. And like I said, I wanted to build something that was, sustainable, like it had longevity in it. And I felt like the TV industry could be a little bit fickle at times. And, I was very young and, I needed experience, but to get that experience, you need to get your foot in the door. I mean, when I first moved to London, around 18, I actually managed to get a job on a Sky channel, like on a casino channel. And yeah.
We spinning the roulette wheel.
Like there with the Red Balls all the time, and I'd be calling out the names on the side, like getting them wrong. But yeah, I mean, it gave me a really great experience. I've got my croupier license still, and it was nice to meet those people and progress from that. I ended up doing lots of car rallies, so I was touring all over the world in the US, Albania, Ireland, Europe as well. And it was at that point really that I really kind of figured that I really needed something that I could build, not just gonna have one gig and then for 2 months I don't have anything. As fun as it is, it's just, I say it's not reality, but it is very difficult when you're young to get that experience, because producers, they need people with experience. I just didn't have that experience. And like I said, I was very lucky and fortunate to get the opportunities I did, but I definitely wouldn't change my path for a second. It's definitely led me to where I need to be, and now I'm at that point where I can go back into the opportunities that I've been presented with. Yeah.
Cool. So I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about branding. And I mean, is that something you've got, let's say, formal training in, or is it something that you've kind of learned by accident, and your kind of knowledge is expanded? And I guess obviously it's a. I mean, we all know what an important part of any business it is, and when did that really dawn on you?
Do you know what? I think I always felt like it was such an integral part of brand building anyway, business building rather, because, you've got to have that DNA and that ethos instilled from the very beginning. And I think that the more that you can kind of integrate that whilst you're building, the more of a wider community you're going to get, because people can affiliate, people can relate, people can become part of something. So for me, it was always very important, even when I built Critics Clothing, that, the brand itself, conveyed this message of be your own person, stay true to who you are, and just be really unique and embrace your individuality. So I've kind of used that with, Critics Clothing, and managed to do the same with Be Your Own. And I think even for my own personal ethos, I stand very much by being your own person. So it's very transparent throughout.
And what are your kind of top tips for growing that brand? For kind of getting your message out there.
I would definitely say that having, a great online presence is really, really important. And I think that if you can, really understand how omni-channel marketing really works, and accurately convey your message across multiple platforms, I think you're in with a strong chance of winning, because it's not just about having Facebook anymore. It's not just about having the LinkedIn profile. You have to be active across so many different platforms, and making sure that, your brand message is really transparent throughout all the platforms. You don't want to be, hacking away on Twitter at 2 a.m. in the morning with your personal thoughts, if that's not really who you are. I mean, and then on Instagram and LinkedIn, you're a different person. I guess we all can put on the different hats and stuff, but you have to make sure that if that's the person that you are as a brand, especially if you are that person yourself, that it's just, it's consistent throughout.
Completely. I mean, this is something that I always have this conversation, with either my peers or other businesses that I advise, and that I think people are always very much worried about what image should I have for that platform, or who should I be on that, and you've obviously hit the nail on your head yourself. But insofar as, yes, there's always nuances to each platform of how you should deliver your content, how you should deliver your message. But but fundamentally, your brand, who you are, should be consistent across all platforms. But more importantly, it should very much be who you are offline as well.
Yeah,
that's for me, that's a big mistake so many people make, not just in terms of, I guess, giving inconsistencies to their brand, but also making their life so much more difficult and less enjoyable. Because when you have to put an act on to deliver content, when you've got to pretend to be something you're not, and particularly in this social media world, let's say pretend to have more than you've got, etc. You're just making a rod for your own back, and you're going to come unstuck very quickly. You're not going to find it easy to create content, because you're either going to feel out of place, or you're not going to be able to think clearly what your message is. And I mean, I've been doing a lot of Facebook lives during this during this lockdown time, where people feed me questions each night. And one of the things that always comes back time and time again is I struggle to make content for this platform, or I don't know what to talk about for my brand. And I'm always saying that, listen, for me, the simplest answer is you don't like what you're doing. Because if you love your brand, no matter how fucking boring some of us may think it is, if you love what you do, then you'll be able to talk about it all day long. And you'll never be short of a story post. You'll never find it difficult to write long form blog content, because it is fundamentally a part of your DNA. But when you're trying to put on an act, when you're trying to rep a brand that it just is not in your DNA, then you're pushing water uphill. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. Sure, okay, if you're creative enough, we can all put the effort into it. But why set yourself that problem out from the outset when there's so many opportunities to do what you love and believe, and monetize it at the same time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's the problem as well, is that people are just not authentic in what they, in what they put out in terms of content. And more often than not, I mean, there's nothing wrong with even showing your, vulnerability. You don't always have to be, putting this big bravado. And I think a lot of what I do with Be Your Own, yes, we champion women. Yes, we celebrate women. Yes, we champion, even all entrepreneurs, because there's some fantastic guys just like yourself who are really out there doing amazing things. But there's nothing wrong with, like, in times like now where people are suffering, just being your true authentic self and saying, yeah, all right, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, all right, I've built a really great business and a great brand, but actually I'm struggling, or I'm suffering, or, my mental well-being is not that great. And sometimes, I find great content and articles to write about these topics, and they really do well because people can relate to them and people can resonate. Now, if I was sat there saying, oh yeah, every day is amazing, and I'm on top form every single day, I would be not only lying to them, but I would actually be lying to myself. And how many people are going to be able to connect to me through that? Not many, because I think, well, yeah, right, maybe she might be doing well. I mean, it's not even a case of gloating. It's just that I just don't think many people would be able to relate to that. Because 90% of it, yes, I am, I'm doing okay. But there is that 10% sometimes, like in any entrepreneur's journey, where it isn't that great. And I have to share that and it's not difficult for me to share that. Like you said, if you're really passionate about what you do, and who you are, it isn't, I'm not lying. It's not forced. It just comes naturally to write that.
Well, and I'd probably take what you've said one step further as well. Insofar as, I mean, you've said that there's nothing wrong with showing your vulnerable side. I would go as far as to say, you need to show it, to actually get that, that relatability. And like, as you were just saying then, if you're always upbeat, if you're always I'm smashing it, people may not believe you, or may struggle to relate to you. I mean, I think a lot of, by accident really, and again, this goes back to what we were talking about a minute ago, where we talk about being authentic. I mean, like, I've always been as happy to share my mistakes as I have my wins. Whether that was online or offline, before social media even existed. And so I guess if I'm ever putting content out each day, I just talk about whatever was relevant for that day or whatever I'd done the day before. And some of my most popular posts, which I never expect them to be, it's just like, this is all I can actually write about today. But some of the most popular ones are some of the most negative stuff. I've fucked this up, or I've fucked that up, and and it gets so much more engagement. I mean, I've recently started putting up my very shitty credit report, which. Oh, which I mean, obviously, I guess there's the flip side to it, that that it hasn't inhibited, it's not inhibited me, being successful in other areas, but because of my backstory. I mean, I don't know how much you know about me and my backstory, but my backstory was that having built up successful businesses from kind of 02 to 08, very successful businesses. I went spectacularly bankrupt back in 08, and then rebuilt completely from scratch. So obviously, when I fell off a cliff, my credit rating was obviously shot to shit. And for various reasons at the time, I never really looked into it until actually about 4 years ago. So we've probably got like a 6-year gap where I never touched my credit rating, where I didn't make any effort towards fixing it, just because I guess I'd found workarounds and didn't need to do it. But I'm a complete advocate for the importance of personal credit in an overall wealth building strategy, and for your corporate fundraising as well. And it's obviously one thing that, well, I guess I can practice what I preach insofar as I can try and correct it, but I don't have mine in order. So I often share that journey. So when I get my little ping from Experian saying, your credit report has gone up by 30 points, you are now not very poor. I put those posts out, and they get more engagement than anything I do, just because it's so relatable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, like you said, if you're honest about it and you're putting it out, it is more relatable. People can engage. People can sit there and go, you know what, I've been there, or I'm going through that right now. And you'll have so many people reach out to you. I mean, even sometimes some posts that I put on Instagram, or even Facebook, they're not actually meant to be like negative energy, because, you know, I don't like negative energy anyway, but sometimes they're a little bit downbeat. And then I have people messaging being like, oh, I just want to touch base that you're okay. And it's really nice, because not that I do it for that reason, but it is nice to know that there is that, you know, humanity still left, where people should really be caring about each other and making sure that everyone's okay, and, you know, being able to connect and resonate, like you said.
Well, you're a vegan, so you don't come with bad energy, do you?
No, you know, all of it and everything, yes. But we're not going to talk about, because I don't tell people, like, I don't preach about being vegan, because people are like, oh, but, you know, you've got leather shoes on, or you're wearing like a leather handbag. And it's like, okay, well, if you really want to nitpick, then no, I'm technically not vegan. But we're very, like, I would say 80-20% vegan life. No meat, no dairy, no fish.
That's a new application to the 80-20 rule.
Yeah. Proud of handbag. That's okay.
So tell me more about the current business and I guess, you know, the group of members and entrepreneurs and stuff that are in there. You know, what kind of people are they? I mean, obviously, I know they're women. I mean, was that a conscious decision to, you know, to market towards women, or did that happen by accident?
Yeah, I mean, because I, you know, leverage what I got from Critics Clothing, a lot of the actual audience did kind of transition through with me. But I would say that as we really restructured it and, you know, went through the business model itself, it just became really appealing to females, a female audience. So, you know, when we was going out there and interviewing lots of women, we just noticed that, you know, the amount of comments, the amounts of shares and likes, and, you know, the fact that we was able to send it viral, it was very apparent that it was, you know, a female-centric audience. So we thought, well, if that's the case, then don't fix what's, you know, not broke. So we just continued down that and just continued to market, not really for women, but it was just more so to give, you know, women a place to talk about what they do in, you know, in such a male-dominated industry in some cases. And then the brands that were coming on board, we thought, you know, why not take it one step further? And the YouTube content that, you know, we've done and created, and the projects that we've done, we decided to only use female-centric brands. So, you know, we had Emily's Crisps, Olivia's Kitchen. I mean, we've had, you know, we work with lots of PR agencies and also, you know, advertising agencies as well. And they're always pitching female-led brands to work with. And it just fits perfectly. And that, I think, is where our niche is that I kind of refuse to budge on that, because I think, okay, okay, we worked with, say, Candy Kittens, which, as you know, is owned by Jamie Lang and Ed. Yep. And that was when we was first kind of building up. But now it's strictly, we just keep it female-centric, because that is really important for me, that it is female-led brands. That's what the whole...
I feel honoured that you've taken time out to talk to a man today.
Yeah, well, you should. No, it's not every day.
I did used to be called Christine.
Really?
So tell me more about, I guess, you know, the member benefits. You know, what the ladies in the club get. You know, how you monetize it, how your business model works.
Yeah, sure. So as we've grown, you know, I'll say exponentially, but we have had a lot of rapid growth. And I think that's down to also the partners that we've worked with. I mean, we've teamed up with, you know, Cision, Newswire. We've also got a lot of other media outlets that we work with at the moment as well. So we've actually got, you know, a wider community to connect with, and a wider audience, a bigger distribution. And I think that a lot of the membership benefits that they get really help women to flourish in their businesses, like, you know, press releases we send out for them. We you know, we put them on lots of newsletter blasts all the time to our, you know, business partners, because we've got a lot of investors that are part of the membership club as well. You know, art investors, you know, real estate investors, lots of different women in lots of different backgrounds. And I think the whole point of it is to connect like-minded women who are, you know, doing well, but they just want to connect to other women to take themselves that next step further. And I think the whole part of the Illumini is that it's not only what you can take, it's about what you can bring to the table as well. So I often say that, you know, if you are part of the membership club and you come to the ladies' lunches that we host, you know, usually every month at Megan's and King's Road, you know, it's not that you just come with your business card and then it's, you know, what could, you know, pitching all the time, because you don't want that. You know, you just want to go into a nice room full of positive energy where people are just casually talking about what they do. And it's a case of, oh, well, I do, social media, or I do, content creation, or, I have an advertising company, or, I'm a business strategist. And it's, just connecting the dots that way. And it's really nice because it's not forced. And it's a great way for women to not only build like, professional connections, but also personal connections as well. And that's what we really try to encourage, that it's not just you come to one event, you zap every connection you've got there, and then we don't hear from you again. It's a case of, we build that ongoing relationship where, oh, I've got that. I think you'd be really good for that. I'm doing a podcast, actually. I think you'd be really good on that. And I've seen lots of really amazing collaborations and, projects come out of this, not just in London or not just even in the UK, but even as far as New York, Florida, LA. And it's really nice to watch because it is growing and it is evolving. And I'm so, happy and pleased with the women that have come on board to join the journey. So, yeah. Oh.
And how, obviously you mentioned your kind of monthly lunches and get-togethers. So how have you been coping during lockdown? How's your business adapted? What kind of strategies have you been talking about for your members?
Well, actually, that's a very interesting topic because, it's kind of had to be push come to shove now. And I knew I wanted to introduce like Zoom conference chats and webinars, but I just didn't think that it would have to come so soon, because it's also having that courage to, and also I don't want to go on there and ramble a load of rubbish. I want to make sure that whatever we deliver on the webinars or, the conference calls are, of value. And so we've managed to bring in lots of partners to, provide content, whether it, be a dietitian or a fitness instructor, or like an accountant that comes on and talks about, how to manage finances through COVID-19, etc., etc. And it's actually been great for me in the sense that, yeah, right, we're not doing the membership club lunches and having that face-to-face interaction and that real-time engagement, but we've actually found a way now to connect everybody, regardless of geographic location, just through a screen. And it's been great because I didn't think that it would work, because we never had any Zoom chats before, any webinars or anything like that before. It was just strictly the lunches. And of course, if we've got members over in Canada and we've got members over in Australia, they obviously still want to feel part of the membership club, but how can they when they can't really travel to every single lunch that we've got happening every single month? So for me, it was a perfect way to kind of reach them as well, just through Zooms and I say FaceTime chats. It's not really that professional, but because I do have some women that are part of the membership club who are friends of mine, it's also, you have to have that kind of touch with them as well.
Well, it's interesting you talk about that, because I'm invested in another business, which is, I guess a networking, business development club. I mean, we're not as in the space that you guys are of all the other, let's say, learnings for the members. It's much more, just a community of getting people together. So I guess you're a bit more hands off. But all of our events, they pay an annual membership fee, and we put on an event which is typically monthly, normally with some kind of guest speaker, normally at a pretty high profile venue. And obviously, since this started, we've not been able to deliver any of our events, but we decided to implement the Zoom meetings. The webinars to replace the meetings. And initially, we do our physical get-togethers once a month. But we thought, well, we can do these obviously a lot easier and a lot cheaper. So let's make it once a week. And what started off as just I guess a method of delivering some value, so that we didn't have a load of people demanding the membership fees back, has actually become what will be a part of the business model now going forward. And that once we're out of this, we'll still want to deliver the monthly physical get-togethers at the high caliber venues, but we can still do weekly Zoom calls, which might be for a topic which is not going to be as hotly as hotly audience interested as some of the bigger speakers, but like continuing to allow us to put our message out there. And I guess for me, this whole time has been about yes it's shit, yes, pretty much every business apart apart from supermarkets and pharmacies, I've got serious problems. But how can we adapt to get through it, and then what learnings can we take from that to hopefully actually come out with a better business out of the other side?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think there's going to be so many small business owners who are really going to struggle. And, like I say, not really just small business owners, but it's about how you utilize this time to really look at your business model and think, okay, how can I adapt to the current climate? How can I pivot? Like, especially for startups. I mean, there's some women that, who are part of the membership club who have literally just started their businesses, and some of them are in events. I was chatting to them most recently, and they were saying, it's not very good. I'm having to go back to my other job to kind of suffice. And I said, it's a perfect time right now, because you are at the best stage of a startup to be able to pivot, because now you can have a look at, okay, well, this isn't working. Let's restructure this. Let's refocus. Let's see if we can actually align ourselves and work with a different audience or demographic entirely. Like, I think it's a really, really great time to sit and reflect and think, okay, what's not working? Okay, if that's not working, let's lob it off. Let's move on to something else. Let's focus on what works, or adding new things. A lot of people think right now as well that it's about, okay, well, we'll have to, decrease the price. It's not about decreasing the price to get more people. It's about increasing the value. If you can increase the value and show people, okay, well, for example, with the membership club, all right, we're not doing, lunches right now, but we've got the Zooms, and we've had women that have said, okay, well, can we do it more frequently? And I think, well, do we really want to? Because we don't want to, we don't want to dilute the monthly lunches. But at the same time, if that's what they want, then they're paying for it. And I'm more than happy to do that, because I know that if that's the additional value that we bring as a membership club, then that is what's going to make them come back next year and pay that annual fee, like you said. So you don't want to be issuing refunds.
Well, I mean, anyone thinking about dropping your prices now, if you only take one thing from this podcast, it is to do not even think about lowering your prices. Once you lower those prices, you will never get them back up again. And you're better off losing those particular members, because I mean, I'm put on the spot, so I can't do the mathematics, but you are much better off losing X number of members at 100% of their income, and retaining the portion of them where you've got 100% of that income, than applying a blanket discount. Because I mean, realistically, for a discount to be of let's say of value to people, not value, but of interest to people, you're going to have to give them. You're going to be giving a meaningful drop in price. We're not talking about a 10% reduction here. The people I've heard talking about it are talking about, oh well, I should reduce my fees 50%, to keep people ticking over. You have just locked. I'm using your word now. You've just locked up your 50% of your income that you will ultimately never ever get back. I mean, even if you kept your income at 100%. You're better off losing half of your members and still having that, because the people that leave now probably will come back again in the future anyway. And it's just such a dangerous slope to start to start reducing pricing.
Yeah, and you know what? You say that, but actually, I've actually put some of my prices up, and I tell you why. Because for me, I think that if you don't know what value we bring, then that's not my problem. Like, and I'm not going to justify why our prices are X amount when I know what we bring to the table, and I know what we can deliver as a media company. So, anybody, for me, anyway, who has to kind of, and ah, or is a bit skeptical about the price, I think, well, we don't want to work with you, because we haven't got the same mindset. Like, it's like, if you talk about, for example, like business consultancy fees, and people say, oh yeah, but 30 grand a year is really expensive. Well, it's not expensive if they're bringing you 3 million in a year. You know what I mean? Or 300 grand. Yep. So you've got to think, what is the return on investment there? Yes, all right, the membership might cost £450 a year, which I personally don't think is a lot in comparison to many other membership clubs that are out there. But at the same time, I think I would much rather have the 100 and something brilliant members that we have at the moment, and know that they are, happy to be part of the membership club, then have thousands and thousands of people part of it where it's like $29.99 or, a month, and then they drop off after 3 months because they've zapped up everything, and then that's it. Like, that's not the people that I want part of the membership. They're not the people that we want to work with, because we don't have the same mindset.
Well, if someone can't deliver a positive ROI on 450 quid a year, then the fault is theirs, not yours, because all they need to do is make one connection. Listen to one sentence of advice from one of your speakers at 1 month, and they should be getting a 10, 20, 30x return on that anyway. So 100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's, as long as your value is there and you know what you bring to the table, then yeah, you definitely shouldn't have to question your prices or your business model. And for me, I would never question someone else's business model. If I go into a hair salon and I sit down and I have my hair done, and they come to me after and they go, it's £110, I'm not going to go, oh, why is it £110? If I'm happy with the results and I look in the mirror and I think, damn, you look good, like I'm really happy with that, I'm going to pay what I think you deserve. Like, you've made me feel good. Like, I'm happy. Like, that's the return on investment there. And I would never really devalue someone by questioning the pricing. If it's not for me, okay, no problem. It's not for me. But it's a little bit expensive for me. But I'm never going to sit there and argue with them about their prices.
That's where I go wrong. If I'd have paid £110, I wouldn't be having this problem right now.
What's wrong with that? Is it usually shaved or?
No, it's not usually shaved. It's normally a bit shorter. No, that's what I look like with hair, everybody.
Oh,
it's a bit of a, it's like an old man's Mohican. So.
I forgot that you actually even had hair, because obviously it's away, but the hat really suits you.
Oh, thank you very much. It's not covering up. Well, I was going to say it's not covering up baldness. Maybe it's covering up premature balding, but that is not the purpose of it.
Well, you've got a full head of hair. You're completely fine.
Listen, obviously, the club sounds great. Everything you've been talking about, is really fantastic, valuable information. So tell everybody where they can find you. Give the club a shout out. Give your social a shout out.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. So you can find me at Samanah Duran. It's Samanah, and then Duran, all one word. I
don't know why you're smiling when you're saying it's Samanah.
People have a tendency to call me Samantha, but it's Samanah. And there's really only one Samanah, so it's pretty easy to find. And then you can find me on Twitter as well. I've also got my own website, but it's not that great. So you can sign up to the membership over on BROAM, which is brome.org, and then /membership club. It's quite easy, really. Just type it in. It's all one word, be your own. And then obviously across Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, you can find me as well. So
perfect. Well, listen, Samanah, thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for sharing your stories, and I hope we'll be seeing more of you again in the future, and maybe we'll get together face to face once all this is over.
Yes, for a vegan lasagna.
For a vegan lasagna. All right, thanks a lot. See you later.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye.